Welcome to the Perfect Dose podcast. We dive into everything you need to know about skincare treatments, wellness tips, and skincare routines so you can look and feel your best. If this sounds like you, make sure you hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes. I'm your host, Dr. Kristen Herzog, board-certified nurse practitioner and injection specialist. My med spa, The Perfect Dose, is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you are interested in becoming a patient and seeing me in practice, make sure you head straight to my website. If you're a medical provider and you want to stay up to date on the latest trends, techniques, have access to my protocols, articles, and business tips, make sure you follow me on Patreon at The Perfect Dose. For everyone else, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Perfect Dose. Hi guys, welcome back to this week's episode. We are going to talk this week about Sculptra. And Sculptra is a biostimulator. I have been getting questions all over Instagram. What is Sculptra? Am I a candidate? What's the difference between Sculptra and filler? I've done a podcast about Sculptra versus filler, and I will link it here for you guys. But this episode is going to be all about Sculptra. I'm going to break it down for you, what it is, how many treatments you need, what maintenance looks like, what results you can expect, and how much treatments cost. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with what is Sculptra. Sculptra is a biostimulator, and biostimulators force your body to stimulate collagen. Why do we need collagen? Well, what happens is in our 20s, we start to break down collagen, and this is going to decline with age. So the older we get, the more collagen we lose, and we do not get it back. So why does this matter? Well, collagen is a protein in our body that makes our skin firm, bouncy, tight, and elastic. So think young, supple skin. Like when I look at my son Jackson, I'm like, oh, you have so much collagen. His skin is so bouncy, so tight, it's so perfect. There's like not one blemish or wrinkle on him. This is because he is pumped full of collagen. And as we lose that collagen, our skin becomes less supple, less firm, less tight. So we start noticing signs of aging. We start feeling like there's lines underneath our eyes. We have lines by our mouth that get deeper. And collagen isn't the only thing that contributes to aging. There are more things that contribute to aging, which is fat loss. We have bone loss. We also have muscle laxity. So what that means is there are multiple reasons why we age. So we need multiple things to treat them. Sculptra is just one of the tools in the toolbox. It's one of my favorite tools in the toolbox, but it is one of the tools in the toolbox. So what is Sculptra? Now that we know it's a biostimulator, we know why we need collagen, what happens as we age, and that collagen is a big component of aging. So if we want to look younger, if we want to prevent collagen loss, we need a biostimulator. That's where Sculptra steps in. And Sculptra is something called PLLA. Poly-L-Lactic acid. And originally, Sculptra was actually FDA approved for lipoatrophy. And that is a big fancy medical term for people that have fat loss in their face. So we actually started using Sculptra years and years ago on people with HIV that were experiencing lipoatrophy or significant fat loss in their face. Their faces were looking hollow. So what we found with Sculptra in patients with lipoatrophy is that their skin looked better. Their skin was now having more volume. They looked healthier. Their skin was more supple and they didn't look so hollow. They started looking really healthy. So that was the original indication of Sculptra. And then years later, Galderma purchased Sculptra and it became FDA approved for cosmetic use. And when people started using Sculptra originally, we were doing some crazy things because what happened with the patients with lipoatrophy is they were experiencing nodules, but they were looking so great, getting nodules. They're like, okay, this is just a side effect. This happens. So in aesthetics, we're like, how can we prevent nodules? So we started off by mixing our Sculptra with some saline, usually about 6 cc's of saline or 7 cc's of saline, 8 cc's of saline, whatever it may be. And we thought that, okay, if we put Sculptra, we mix it super early. If we let this PLLA sit, the poly-L-Lactic acid, then it's going to suspend better in the mixture and you won't get any nodules. So we tried mixing it really early, letting it sit. We also tried heating it up. So I remember when I first learned Sculptra years ago, they're like, put it in your bra so it gets nice and warm before you use it. And you definitely had to mix it in advance, 2 to 3 weeks early. They had to prepay their Sculptra. So that way we collected a deposit, ensured the patient would come since we were getting it ready so far in advance. So all of these things were happening with Sculptra because we wanted to figure out how to utilize this PLLA, poly-L-lactic acid, in our bodies without causing nodules. And what happened is most people weren't getting nodules, but some people still were. And so we're like, okay, it couldn't be not heating it up. Maybe it's not mixing it too early. So Galderma went back and actually sought an official FDA approval. So not just that it's FDA approved for use, because we knew it was FDA approved for use as it was indicated for lipoatrophy with HIV patients, but now we wanted to get an FDA indication cosmetically. So Galderma took Sculptra and they did lots of clinical trials and they figured out that Sculptra, what was missing is that we just needed more water. So now the FDA label is adding 9 cc's of bacteriostatic sterile water. So literally we're adding water, 9 cc's, so way more than we used to. We're adding 1 cc of lidocaine. It's optional. I don't think it's optional because it burns. Sterile water just burns when you inject it. So I always add the lidocaine. And they found in the clinical trials that we could actually mix it up right away, same day, and they didn't have any nodules. So we figured out its personality. We figured out how it worked. And so that is the beauty of where Sculptra was and where it came from. And the significance of PLLA, poly-L-lactic acid, is that it is like a catalyst, like a fertilizer that's going to force your body to stimulate collagen. So I like to explain Sculptra like this. Imagine this garden and you are going to sprinkle PLLA all over your garden. So collagen is the seedling. So you have these seedlings there. Some of them are sprouting and great. Some of them aren't. And PLLA is going to make those seedlings sprout and grow. So it's this catalyst, it's the fertilizer to make collagen stimulation happen. And then you're going to have all these branches, trees, flowers, plants of collagen in your garden. So that is what PLLA does. And PLLA is biocompatible, meaning it works with your body and it's biodegradable. And what that means is it actually leaves your body in 3 days and you're just left with your own natural collagen. So that is hugely significant. It is natural, it is stimulating your own collagen, and it is safe for almost everyone. So I get asked this all the time. Is there anybody that's not a candidate for Sculptra? And everyone is a candidate for Sculptra unless you have active autoimmune issues and you're in a flare. So anybody that's in an active autoimmune flare, I would not inject them with anything. I wouldn't inject them with Sculptra. I wouldn't inject them with filler, nothing. I tell my patients, wait until your body heals and then we can inject you. I have an autoimmune issue. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis and my autoimmune is under control. I've gotten Sculptra many times safely. It works amazing. So as long as your body is not in an active immune flare, it is safe to use. Other contraindications to Sculptra are going to be active infection. And again, if you have an active infection, you need to heal before you get any aesthetic treatment. These are aesthetic elective procedures. It's not a need, although it feels like a need, it is a want. So we just need to make sure that you are safe. Also, making sure you're not allergic to anything in Sculptra. It is biodegradable and biocompatible, but there is a beet sugar component to it. So I tell my patients, if you have a beet allergy, I would not inject you with Sculptra. That's actually really rare. I've never met anybody with a beet allergy, but possible. So I always put that out there. And then if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, it's never safe to get any injectables because we just don't have any official studies on it. So Sculptra will be one of the first treatments that I get after baby. I cannot wait. But right now I'm not getting any Sculptra, no tox, nothing. So now we know what Sculptra is, why we need it. It's this PLLA, this fertilizer. Let's talk more about how it is injected. So Sculptra is going to be mixed day of now. We know that it is mixed day of, it is safe. We add that sterile water, the optional lidocaine. In my mind, it's necessary lidocaine, but every practice is different. And we are going to inject your Sculptra. Now, FDA label indications are like Sculptra in the cheek wrinkle area, Sculptra in the nasolabial fold, Sculptra in the chin marionette crease area. Now, just because it is indicated there doesn't mean that we can't put it elsewhere. So how I use Sculptra in my practice is I use it as the foundation. Think about Sculptra as the cake. So Sculptra is the cake, filler is the frosting, right? We need to build the cake. So when I'm assessing you, I'm going to look and see, okay, what are we doing Sculptra for? So if you're in your 20s, you're going to be getting Sculptra for prevention. That means you already have a great cake. You have a great foundation. We are just preventing decline of collagen down the road. So typically you will get one Sculptra treatment that consists of 2 vials, and you will do this once a year. That's it. Super easy. Now, Sculptra's label is indicated for 2 years, but you're like, Kristen, well, if it lasts for 2 years, why am I getting it every year? Well, we lose collagen every year. So if you truly want it to be preventative, you need to be getting Sculptra every single year because we lose collagen every year. We're aging every year. So it is preventative when we stay on top of it annually. So 1 treatment, 2 vials, if you're in your 20s and you have a foundation, you've got a great cake. Now, let's say you're in your 30s and you're starting to notice some volume loss. So let's say you're starting to see some temple hollowing. Maybe you're noticing some folds. You're noticing that your skin doesn't look as tight and firm as it typically did. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to do a Sculptra treatment. But instead of just focusing on 1 treatment globally, right, we may do multiple treatments in order to get the best result. So with Sculptra, it's stimulating your own natural collagen. That means it's going to take time to work. And so we're not going to know the full outcome of your Sculptra until we give it time to work. So when I inject Sculptra for prevention, like I said, 1 treatment, 2 vials globally, and we'll talk about what globally means. When you're in your 30s or more and we are correcting, well, we start with 1 treatment, then I bring you back 6 weeks later because at that point I can see, okay, what is your collagen stimulation starting to look like? You're going to have full results at 12 weeks, but by 6 weeks, if you have about moderate volume loss, we're going to know if you need another treatment. If you have mild volume loss, we'll probably do 1 and make you wait the full 12 weeks before reassessing. But for the most part, when you're injecting Sculptra, and I've been injecting Sculptra since 2018, I've used it in my practice all of the time. I'm a Sculptra trainer, so I use it ton of Sculptra and I know what it does. I know how it's going to look. So I can pretty much tell if you're going to need multiple sessions. So 30s or more, you need multiple sessions. Now, if you are, let's say 40s, 50s, and you have moderate to severe volume loss, or maybe you're in your 30s and you're on Ozempic and you've lost volume, you're going to need multiple treatments. So anywhere from 2 to 3 treatments is typical, but I have done less. I have done more. On average, it's about 2 treatments per person. I think most people can benefit from 2 treatments of Sculptra within a year, but that could be different. When you're losing weight, you may need more. I have this cutie patient. She's amazing. We've actually done 4 sessions of Sculptra on her because she lost like 60 pounds. So she had significant volume loss. And so it was important for me to address her volume loss with Sculptra because just putting filler in her face wasn't really going to make an impact because she was losing weight. And if we're losing so much weight, your filler is going to metabolize faster. So doing something like Sculptra is going to be really beneficial because it is stimulating natural collagen. So it's going to be very preventative and help your skin stay tight as you lose weight. So lots of things to consider, but on average, 20s, you're going to have 1 treatment, 2 vials. In your 30s, 40s, 50s, anywhere from 2 to 4 treatments, really just depending on how much volume loss you have, if you're losing weight. All of these things are going to come into consideration, but on average, I think most people in my practice get 2 treatments pretty consistently. And then once we've done those 2 treatments and we have built the cake, so you have a strong cake, we may then frost you with filler, and filler is meant to enhance, not change your face. So we build the cake first, we build the foundation, and then we add filler as needed because they're very different. And again, you guys have to check out this episode, Sculptra versus filler, because I really break it down what the key differences are. We age in different planes, so they do different things, and they can be very synergistic and work together. I use them synergistically in my practice all of the time, but Sculptra is the foundation. So maintenance, once we have your result and you're like, I look amazing, I love my face, Then we're just going to maintain with one treatment every year, which is 2 vials. So that is typically my cadence. I am going to inject you with Sculptra to correction. Depending on your volume loss, your anatomy, your goals, that may look different for everyone. On average, it's about 2 treatments. And then maintenance with Sculptra is going to be annually so that we prevent collagen loss. And I can show you guys, this is a before and after. This patient had 1 Sculptra treatment. We also did some filler and she looks so refreshed, so amazing. So it can be such a game changer. It's one of my favorite treatments. It's natural. So if you're somebody listening and you're like, I am looking for filler alternatives, or you are nervous about filler, you're looking for an entry point, or maybe you're on Ozempic, you're losing weight, and you're looking to be preventative with skin laxity, Sculptra is an amazing option. Let's talk about cost of Sculptra now. So cost of Sculptra is going to vary, and it can be anywhere from $1,200 a treatment to $1,900 a treatment. It depends who is injecting you and where you're being injected. So I tell my patients all of the time, you are not paying for the vial of Sculptra. You are paying for the person behind that vial. So you are paying for my expertise, my experience, my knowledge of anatomy, all of the training and continuing education that I do, the training and continuing education I provide to my providers, all of these things. So make sure you do your research and find an experienced injector. Don't price shop, you guys. That is one of the biggest mistakes I see in aesthetics is price shopping. You need somebody that is an expert in this, that this is all they do, that they invest in themselves annually, they continue their education, and they are knowledgeable on anatomy and placement, because complications happen when we don't know anatomy, when we don't know our technique and our placement. So super important to find somebody experienced. Now, I want to talk a little bit about where we can put Sculptra. I know I mentioned that it's FDA approved in the cheek wrinkles, in the nasolabial folds, in the chin area, but that's not the only place that we can inject you. And in my practice, I inject globally. So what I mean when I inject globally is I inject your full face. And the typical areas that I inject with Sculptra are the temples. I inject the piriform space, which is the space here by your nose. I inject your cheekbone. I inject the area between your jaw and your cheek. This is called your preauricular space. I then will inject your chin wrinkles. I will inject your jawline. I'll inject on the bone in your jaw. So I really inject you based on where I want your volume. So if you're somebody that has lots of volume loss in your lower face, you'll get more Sculptra there. Maybe you have more temple hollowing. You may get a full treatment just in your temples. So we can inject Sculptra all over the face. I take a global approach to inject based on facial harmony and facial balance. So this is super, super important. And again, Sculptra takes time. So results aren't instant. You will see results at about 6 to 12 weeks. And if you are having anywhere from moderate to severe volume loss, you're typically not going to see results from Sculptra until after that second treatment, because it just takes time to build the cake, right? We have to really build that foundation, and Sculptra is the way to do it. So thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you guys have questions, make sure you leave me comments in the links below. If you're an injector and you want to learn more about my Sculptra technique, make sure you sign up on my Patreon.